Hey you guys, this is Jeremy with In The DAW. Welcome back. In today's video, we're going to be taking a look at the brand new Kush Reddi DI emulation. So without any further delay, let's just jump straight into it. All right, you guys. So I thought we'd start this video off a little bit differently than we normally do. And I've actually loaded this up into Plugin Doctor, which is a program that basically allows you to load up plugins and analyze them. And this way I can see the frequency response, the harmonic content. I have an oscilloscope. I can even see the dynamic response that this plugin has. So with that said, we're going to start off by bypassing the plugin to see that we have a flat frequency response right here. And as soon as we turn it on, you're going to notice that we have a roll off, and it looks almost like a high pass filter. And it starts at about 40 hertz, and it looks like it ends off at about 150 or so, which is pretty interesting. And then we're also noticing that we have a slight dip from about 200 to about 1000 hertz or 1K. And then after that, it's relatively flat all the way to 20K or 20 kilohertz. Pretty cool. That actually makes sense because this is a tube DI box, meaning that it has a tube in it. And one thing that not a lot of people actually know about tubes is they're very high-end heavy. If you're a guitar player and you play like Fenders or Marshall amps, you're going to notice that they're very sharp and they're very, very attacky. And that's because they have a lot of high frequencies because of all the tubes and stuff. Now, let's just take a quick look at the overall UI of the plugin. Right here on the top left, we see the Reddi or the Red DI box, and it pretty much does look like this. I used to use some at the studio I used to work at, and I think we had two. I don't remember if we had the bass knob or if the bass knob was broken or something, but I don't remember using that. But it's a really simple layout. You have a phase inversion, a level control, which drives into the tube, 20 decibel pad, bass boost, and then you have the input and output, which are added, because this is a plugin, we actually have that. And then we can load up and save our own presets. We have a soft bypass, we have the info, help, and oversampling. Pretty straightforward, really simple plugin. Now, again, looking at the frequency response, we're seeing that this is doing something pretty interesting. Let's take a look at the harmonic analysis. You're going to notice that we only have about 2 harmonics being generated if I bypass it. You can see that's what it is clean, and that's with the harmonics. And if we drive this up like crazy, you're going to notice that obviously we get a lot of saturation. That looks really crazy. Adding the 20 decibels of headroom, you see that it helps clean it out. This is really cool because let's say you want to drive something into it really, really loud. You can use the 20 decibels of headroom to maintain a relatively clean frequency response. Now, obviously, the frequency response is going to change completely when you add so much saturation. And that's just natural because, we're adding harmonic content that's going to change the overall frequency curve. Now, I want to take a look at what the bass knob does because I don't really know what it does, to be honest. I didn't read the manual. I just grabbed it and I thought, let's take a look at it. As you see here, we get about a 7.5 decibel boost in the lower frequencies. Pretty cool, pretty interesting. Let's see what happens if we drive it. It looks like that boost just continues, but an interesting thing to note is that this boost is at about 60 hertz, and it's pretty interesting because it keeps everything else relatively clean by maintaining that really nice and smooth frequency response. Notice that no matter what happens, that dip is always there. And if we bring it down, you can see that it, goes back to cleaning it up quite a bit. So I'm assuming that unity is right here because I'm noticing that we're having a lot more frequency content in the lower regions when we have it set to noon. And overall, it looks pretty cool. Really straightforward, really easy to use. Let's see, the oscilloscope says that this is indeed inverting the phase. It obviously is going to have a little bit of a dynamic character to it, and that's because it has tubes. So it is going to change the dynamic response, but it's very subtle, very slight. Overall, it's really simple. So I don't think we need to do anything else as far as analyzing it. Now let's jump in the DAW, and let's see what this thing sounds like. This is a session you guys have heard a million times probably from the artist Joe Kaufman, now going by Joe August. I will have a link in the description for his album if you want to check it out on Spotify. Remember, this is the demos that we recorded. These were done in his home, pretty much just like in his living room with a minimalist setup. No fancy amps, no fancy gear, just really simple singer-songwriter, vocal, acoustic guitar, and bass DI. Let's take a quick listen to it. And this is going to be the bass without any processing besides the Bruce-Free, which is just cleaning up the noise from the electrical sockets.
To your question, I have no reply. It won't stop you and I.
Let's solo up the bass. So as you hear, the bass is just a clean DI. One thing to note though is that it's extremely dynamic. If we go right here and you watch the faders right here, you're going to notice that this jumps up and down in level constantly. Like right here, you see it's really quiet. And that does tend to lead to some problems because then you're going to need to do a lot of compression to keep it audible at all times. And a problem with doing compression, especially heavy compression for a bass, is you can take away the initial impact or the initial tone of the bass by doing that. So you can make it sound dull or lifeless. So that's one reason why I don't tend to use a lot of bass. I'll automate the bass if I have to. But I created this preset with the Reddi, and let's see what this sounds like. This is not going to sound subtle in any way. Very aggressive, right? I'm using a lot of drive. I'm boosting the bass like crazy, and I'm even using the input drive to drive it just a little bit more very subtly, and then I'm compensating with the output. But notice that we've controlled the dynamics. The initial hit and the super loud hit right here, or the transient, are not that far apart as far as the dynamics, but they still maintain impact, and that's the important thing. It sounds like it's very impactful. It has a transient bite to it, but it's controlled. Versus without it. And that's what's important because that's going to help it stand out in the mix, but still sound relatively clean because it's at a decent volume. So let's take a look at it out of the mix and then we'll turn it on. And we're going to use the internal bypass for this case. So here we go.
Me through to your question, I have no reply. It won't stop you and I.
So we're going to go right here and we're going to turn it on, and I want you to listen to how the bass no longer comes in and out of the mix.
Won't stop you and I.
And bypass.
Won't stop you and I. Up the highest hills, my legs give out below me.
So notice that even though I am hitting it really hard and I'm getting a lot of saturation out of it, we're maintaining a clean sound most of the time. And we're controlling the dynamics at the same time. So we're never actually killing it. We're just helping it maintain a more level playing ground. Think of it like this. Instead of it jumping up really high and then slowly bringing it down, it kind of still allows it to jump up, but then it maintains the sustain a little bit better and then it tapers off. But it does it in a very natural way because of the saturation. So if I just crank it up maybe another notch, now that might be a little bit too much saturation, but in the mix, you're not really going to hear that saturation. Right, without it, and then with it. So let's see in the mix.
Won't stop you and I.
And then without it.
Won't stop you and I.
So pretty cool, right? It's a really aggressive way of sounding subtle, which doesn't make any sense, but that's kind of a cool thing about using tubes and real gear, which is one reason why I like to use like my spring reverb box, and I like to use a lot of distortion pedals when I'm mixing. But with that said, I think that's going to be it for this video. I hope you guys enjoyed. This is really just a first impressions. I'm going to do another video maybe in a couple of weeks, and I'm going to try this out on a metal track, probably the one that I've been using. And I want to see what this sounds like on a metal bass and see if we can make it sound hairy enough to cut through a mix, but still have enough low end to sound full. With that said, if you like these examples, or even if you don't, go on the website. There's going to be a link down below and grab a demo. It's a 10-day demo, so you got nothing to lose just by trying it out. It's a really simple plugin that has a lot of control. So with that said, that's going to be it for this part of the video. I'll see you guys in a few seconds. All right, you guys. So that was the Kush Audio Reddi DI plugin emulation. Now, this is a pretty easy plugin to use, but it's really powerful because it gives you a lot of tone shaping capabilities. And much like a lot of other Kush Audio plugins, it has a lot of power with a very simple setup. So you can actually do a lot of creative things without really needing to know what you're doing. Now, with that said, I really enjoy this plugin. It is a very cheap and affordable plugin. So if you are looking for a Tube DI box emulation, I highly recommend checking it out. Links in the description below. And with all that said, that's going to be it for this video. This is Jeremy with In The DAW, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye.